The spaceport city of Verdun was not a beautiful place. It was full of noise, dirt, and strange smells. Here, every creature was for sale if you had enough credits. There were markets everywhere, but the most dangerous was the market of lost dreams. People called it that because those who entered often lost more than just money. They lost hope. Jackson walked slowly through the busy market. He kept his hood low so nobody could see his tired face. Jackson was once a pilot, a man with dreams. Now he was just another poor soul with nothing left but his last few credits. He moved carefully, looking at the stalls full of alien foods, stolen gadgets, and living creatures in cages. Some of these creatures were not animals, they were people. Slavery was forbidden on many planets, but on Verdun, anything could happen. If you paid the right price. Jackson's eyes stopped at a small cage beside a butcher's stall. Inside were two small girls with fur on their arms, long cat-like ears and big yellow eyes. Their faces were sad, but also full of fear. They looked human, but not quite. Their tails were tucked tightly under their bodies. The sign above there. Cage read, "Fresh cat girls, best meat in the galaxy." People walked by, some pointing, some laughing. No one cared about the pain in the girls' eyes. The butcher, a fat man with sharp teeth, shouted, "Last one's left. Buy now, cook tonight." He banged the cage, making the girls jump. Jackson felt his heart beat faster. He had seen many terrible things in his life, but this was different. He felt a strange connection with the cat girls, maybe because they were helpless, just like he felt. He walked closer, ignoring the noise of the crowd. "Hey, you looking to buy?" The butcher shouted at him. "Best price for you, friend." Look at them, tender, fresh, and obedient. Jackson didn't answer. He bent down, looking into the eyes of the older cat girl. She looked back, her eyes full of silent questions. The younger one, smaller and even more scared, held her sister's hand tightly. "How much?" Jackson asked quietly. The butcher grinned, showing his broken teeth. "For you, both for 50 credits, you won't get a better deal." Jackson's hands shook. He reached into his pocket and counted his money. He had only 60 credits left, enough for one meal, maybe a place to sleep for one night. If he spent it here, he would have nothing left. But he looked again at the cat girls, and he couldn't walk away. Suddenly, there was shouting from the other side of the market. A fight had started between two traders. Someone threw a table, and people began to run. The market guards, big aliens with laser sticks, rushed in. In the chaos, the butcher turned to watch. Jackson saw his chance. "I'll take them," Jackson whispered. He pushed the credits into the butcher's hand. The butcher grabbed the money, not even counting it. "Quick, take them." "Before the guards shut us down," Jackson opened the cage. The girls looked at him, confused and scared. "Come with me," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." The older girl hesitated, but the younger one was too weak to move. Jackson reached out and gently lifted her, surprised at how light she was. The older one followed, still watching Jackson with suspicious eyes. As they stepped away from the stall, the market got louder. Guards shouted, people screamed, and someone sounded an alarm. Jackson moved fast, holding the younger girl close in, leading the older one through the crowd. He turned down a narrow alley, heart pounding in his chest. They hid behind some crates as the guards ran past, looking for troublemakers. Jackson listened to their heavy footsteps fade away. He looked down at the girls. The older one stared back, her eyes still full of fear but also a little hope. "My name is Jackson," he said quietly. "You're safe now." The older girl didn't speak. The younger one shivered in his arms. Jackson knew they were hungry and tired. He checked to see if anyone was following, then led them deeper into the city shadows. For a moment, the world was silent except for their breathing. Jackson wondered what he had just done. He had no money, no plan, and now 2 lives depended on him. But when he looked at the girls, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. purpose. As they disappeared into the dark, dirty streets, alarms still rang behind them. The market guards would soon find the butcher's stall empty. They would start looking for the man who bought the catgirls. Jackson did not know if he could save them. He did not know if he could even save himself. But he knew he had to try. Jackson's hands were cold as he led the catgirls through the twisting, shadowy alleys of Verdun. The city never slept. Neon lights flickered overhead, and strange machines hummed behind every broken wall. Far behind them, the market of lost dreams was still loud. Alarms blared and angry voices rose in the air. Jackson knew they had only a few minutes before someone started searching for them. He moved quickly, his heart pounding, every step echoing against whetstone. He glanced down at the younger catgirl in his arms. She was so light, too light. Her breathing was shallow, and her fur was dirty. The older one kept close behind, never letting Jackson out of her sight, but her ears twitched with every sound. Turned into a narrow alley where a pile of broken crates and an old vending machine blocked the view. Jackson put the younger girl down gently and pulled his coat off, wrapping it around her small body. She looked up with big, golden eyes but said nothing. "Are you hurt?" Jackson asked softly. His voice echoed a little in the empty alley. The older girl shook her head. "No," she whispered, her voice thin but clear. "But Lena is very tired." Jackson nodded, learning her name for the first time. "I'll get you somewhere safe." Suddenly, a cold blue light swept across the alley. Jackson froze. The city patrol was searching the streets, scanning for anyone who looked suspicious. Their flying drone stopped at the mouth of the alley, spinning in the air. Jackson pressed his back against the wall, holding the girls close. The patrol drone scanned the area, red laser light moving across the crates. Mira, the older catgirl, closed her eyes and held Lena's hand tight. For a moment, Jackson thought the drone would find them. He held his breath, but then something strange happened. Mira's ears twitched, and Jackson saw a tiny glow in her eyes. She focused hard, and the red laser blinked and flickered, as if the drone was confused. A static crackle sounded in the air. The drone's camera spun away, its light going dull for a moment. Then it flew off down the alley, searching elsewhere. Jackson stared at Mira in shock. "Did you do something?" Mira looked away quickly. "Just luck," she whispered. But Jackson was not so sure. As soon as the patrol was gone, Jackson led them deeper into the old city. The buildings here were older and empty. Metal doors were rusted shut. Some windows glowed with flickering lights, but most were dark. Jackson picked a hidden door and tapped a secret code on the lock. It clicked open. Inside it was cold and dusty, but safe. This was an old pilot's bunker, forgotten by most. Jackson closed the door and checked the cameras. No one was following. He let out a long breath. Lena sat quietly on the floor, shivering. Mira sat beside her, wrapping her arms around her little sister. Jackson found a packet of water and some dry food. In the bunker, he handed them to Mira. "Here, you must eat." Mira hesitated, her eyes searching his face. "Why did you save us?" she asked. Her voice was not angry, just tired and lost. Jackson looked away, not sure how to answer. "Because I know what it feels like to be trapped," he said. "And because nobody else would." Mira nodded, her eyes softening a little. She opened the water and helped Lena drink. The little catgirl made a small happy sound, almost like a purr. The bunker felt safe, but Jackson knew they couldn't stay long. The city patrol would check every alley, every hiding place. And someone else might already be looking for them. The kind of person who didn't need a patrol to find what he wanted. Suddenly, Jackson heard something outside, a faint tap on the metal wall. He froze. Mira's ears twitched again, and she squeezed Lena's hand. Jackson crept to the door and looked through the tiny spy hole. At first, he saw nothing. But then a shadow moved quickly across the alley, too fast and too silent to be a regular patrol. Someone was tracking them. Jackson turned back to Mira and Lena. "We have to be ready to move," he said in a whisper. "Someone is coming." Mira stood up, her golden eyes shining in the dark. "We'll help," she said, her voice stronger than before. Jackson nodded, feeling a small spark of hope. Maybe he was not alone in this fight after all. As they packed their things, the shadow outside grew closer. The night was silent, and the danger felt near. What was hunting them? Was it a simple thief, a patrol, or something worse? And how did Mira make that patrol drone lose track of them? As the cold wind howled through the broken windows, Jackson and the Catgirls prepared to run for their lives again, deeper into the unknown city, and into a danger they could not yet imagine. The bunker was silent. Not a normal kind of silence, but a heavy one, the kind that made your skin feel cold even when there was no wind. Jackson didn't sleep that night. He sat near the metal door, holding a small blaster in one hand and old photo in the other, a picture of him in his pilot uniform, smiling beside someone he no longer remembered clearly. That life was gone. Behind him, Mira and Lena were curled up together under a thin blanket. Mira's eyes were closed, but Jackson knew she wasn't sleeping either. Then something strange happened. A low humming sound filled the room, soft, like a whisper through the walls. The air grew warm. Jackson turned quickly, his blaster raised. But what he saw frozen in place. Myra's body was glowing, not brightly, but a faint blue light moved over her skin, her arms, her face. Her ears twitched as if she was listening to something far away. Lena, still asleep beside her, seemed to relax more deeply as the glow touched her. Jackson didn't move. He had heard of strange creatures, powers beyond human understanding, but he had never seen anything like this up close. The glow faded after a few seconds. Mira opened her eyes and looked directly at Jackson. "You saw it," she said. "It wasn't a question." "Yes," Jackson replied. "What was it?" Mira looked down at her hands. "Something we were born with. We don't fully understand it. But when we are close, when we feel safe, it comes." Jackson leaned forward. "Does it heal?" "Yes," she said. "A little. It calms the mind. Helps us feel each other." Jackson looked at Lena, who was sleeping peacefully now. "You saved her, didn't you?" Mira nodded slowly. "It's why they want us, not just for food, but because we are different." Jackson's mind raced. If what Mira said was true, these Catgirls were not just rare, they were valuable. People would kill to get them. They already had. Before he could ask more, Mira stood up and walked toward him. She sat down across from him, watching his face. "We don't know who we are," she said. "We remember a home. A planet with tall blue trees and glowing lakes. Then ships came. Fire. Screams. We were taken, sold, kept in cages." Jackson listened without speaking. "We are not fighters," Mira added. "But if someone tries to take Lena again, I will become one." Jackson looked at her with new respect. She was just a girl, young and small, but there was strength in her voice. Something fierce beneath the quiet. He nodded. "Then we'll fight together. But first, we need to understand your powers. We need to know what they can do." Just then, the bunker lights flickered. A small, high-pitched beep echoed from Jackson's pocket. He pulled out a device the size of a card. The screen flashed red. "Tracker signal," he whispered. "Someone nearby is scanning for life signs." Mira's ears twitched. "Same as before?" "No," Jackson said, checking the screen. "This one is more focused. It's not patrol. It's a bounty hunter." Fear flashed in Mira's eyes. "He's coming?" Jackson stood up. "Yes, we have to move now. Grab your things." But as Mira rushed to wake Lena, something hit the bunker wall hard. Dust fell from the ceiling. A second thud followed. Then silence. Jackson grabbed his blaster and ran to the back of the room. He pulled open a hidden panel revealing a narrow tunnel. This leads to the old subway lines. No scanners down there. We'll lose him. Lena was awake now, eyes wide with fear. Mira lifted her and helped her into the tunnel. Jackson followed, sealing the panel behind them. They crawled for what felt like hours through the dark. No light, no sound except for their breathing and the distant echo of boots. Someone was above them. They finally reached the subway, a wide, empty tunnel covered in dust and old machines. But here, they were safe for now. Jackson sat down, wiping sweat from his face. "We need a new plan," he said. "We can't keep running forever." Mira looked at her hands. "I felt something when I used my power earlier." "Something calling." Jackson raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "A signal, very far, but it was there, like someone else. Like us." Jackson leaned forward. "You think there are more like you?" Mira nodded slowly. "I don't know where, but maybe, if we can find them. They might help." Jackson finished. The idea brought hope, but also danger. If they searched for more catgirls, others would be searching too. And those people wouldn't be kind. As they sat in the shadows of the dead subway, one thing was clear. Mira's power was real. It could heal, it could connect, and it could lead them to something bigger. But it could also get them killed. Asterisk. The old subway tunnel was cold and dark, but it gave them a few hours of safety. Mira sat close to her sister Lena, who was finally asleep again. Jackson stood a few feet away, staring at a broken train car that hadn't moved in years. Pipes hissed quietly above them. Rats and dust were the only company here. But it was quiet, too quiet. Then the silence broke. A sound soft and distant. Not footsteps, not breathing. It was a click, a slow, careful click. Like a claw tapping on metal. Jackson froze. He knew that sound. Only one kind of person made it, a hunter. Jackson turned to Mira. "Wake her up," he whispered. "Now." Myra gently shook Lena, her voice low and calm. "Lena, we have to go. Someone is coming." Lena stirred, eyes heavy, but she stood up. She didn't need to ask questions. She trusted her sister's voice. They moved quickly deeper into the tunnel. But no matter how fast they walked, the clicking sound stayed behind them, never closer, never far. Then Jackson saw something up ahead. A small box with blinking lights. He stopped. "A sensor trap," he said. "He's hurting." "US," Myra's eyes widened. "He knows where we're going." "Yes," Jackson said, looking around. "He wants us scared, tired, easy to catch." They turned into a maintenance shaft, crawling through narrow pipes and rusted steel. Jackson's heart beat faster. Not because of the dark, but because of who was behind them. He had heard stories of this hunter, a ghost in black armor, no face, no name. Only whispers. People called him Voron, the one who always gets his target. They stopped inside an old repair room. There were broken lights, old lockers, and a shattered mirror on the wall. Jackson peeked back through the vent. Nothing. Then Dashi appeared. A tall figure stepped into the tunnel like a shadow come to life. His armor was matte black, without any symbol. His mask had no eyes, just a red line across it that glowed faintly. His footsteps made no sound. Voron stood still, then lifted a small sphere from his belt. He tossed it into the air. It hovered, spinning slowly. Scanning. Jackson pulled back. "He's using a heat drone. He'll find us?" Mira whispered. "Unless..." Jackson opened one of the lockers and pulled out a coolant canister, long forgotten. "This might help." He sprayed the cold mist around the vent opening and over their clothes. The air turned freezing. Mira shivered but said nothing. The drone passed their hiding place and moved on. Voron followed, silent as death. They waited. 5 minutes. 10. Then Mira spoke very softly. He's not normal, Jackson nodded. He's not human. She closed her eyes. I felt nothing. No mind, just dark. Then we can't outrun him, Jackson said. We need to outsmart him. Lena whispered, he scares me. Jackson placed a hand on her shoulder. That's a good thing. Fear keeps you sharp. Mira looked at Jackson. Why is he hunting us? I don't know, Jackson said. But I think it's not just about money anymore. Someone powerful wants you, maybe more than one. Silence fell again. Then Mira said something Jackson didn't expect. I want to fight him. Jackson turned, surprised. What? Mira stood taller now. Her hands glowed faintly again. If we keep running, we'll never be free. I want to know what I am, what I can do. Jackson studied her for a moment. She wasn't just a scared girl anymore. There was something else growing in her, something strong. He nodded. All right, but we don't fight his way. We fight ours. He pulled out a small device from his bag. I've got a signal jammer. We can trap him, blind his sensors, maybe even hurt him. Myra tilted her head. You've faced hunters before? No, Jackson said with a small grin. But I've escaped a few. They began setting up the trap using broken wires, old energy cells, and the jammer. It wasn't much. But it was enough for a surprise. As they worked, the clicking returned closer. This time Mira held Lena's hand. Jackson raised his blaster. The lights flickered. Then the hunter entered. He stepped into the room slowly, scanning the shadows. The red line across his mask glowed brighter. Mira whispered, now. Jackson hit the switch. The trap lit up. Sparks flew. The drone's signal crashed. Varan's mask blinked rapidly, confused. For the first time, he took a step back. Mira's hands began to glow. The air around her shimmered like heat rising from fire. Her voice, calm and clear, said, leave us or burn. The hunter raised his weapon, but his hand began to shake. Jackson fired once. The shot hit Varan's arm, not enough to kill, but enough to make him stumble. The glow from Myra's hand spread through the room like a wave of heat. Varan turned and vanished into the smoke faster than anyone expected. Gone. For now. Jackson lowered his weapon. Mira's glow faded. We won, Lena whispered. No, Jackson said, helping them up. We survived. That's different, Myra nodded. But he will come back. Jackson looked toward the tunnel. Then we need to move faster, and next time, we'll be ready. The storm outside the city had started to rise. Verdun's twin moons glowed behind thick clouds as acid rain began to fall across the rooftops. Down below, far from the neon lights, in the belly of the broken world, Jackson, Mira, and Lena walked. Through a forgotten tunnel, one that didn't exist on any map. The walls here were old, covered in vines that pulsed with faint blue light. Machines from another time long dead lined the path, their symbols strange. Their languages unknown. Jackson held a flashlight, but it barely cut through the thick humming air. Where are we? Mira whispered. Jackson didn't answer at first. He seemed distracted. Then he said, I flew over this area once, years ago. Sensors didn't work here. Maps would glitch. People called it the vein. No one came near it. Lena looked around nervously. Is it cursed? No, Jackson replied quietly. Just forgotten. But Mira felt something else. A deep vibration, soft and slow, like a sleeping heart. The deeper they walked, the stronger it became. Not loud, but alive. She touched the wall, and suddenly a vision. In a blink, her mind filled with pictures. A silver forest. A giant tree with glowing leaves. A sky with two red suns, her people laughing, and then screaming. Fire, smoke, ships, chains. Myra gasped and fell to her knees. Mira! Jackson rushed to her side. She blinked, trying to breathe. I saw it, our world, before it burned. Jackson looked at her, confused. What do you mean? I remembered. Not all, just pieces. This place is connected to us. I can feel it. They reached a circular door deep within the tunnel. It was smooth, metallic, and humming with quiet energy. Mira stepped forward, and the door opened on its own. Inside was a hidden chamber, round, glowing, filled with strange lights and tall stone-like panels covered in glowing symbols. The air was warm, calm, alive. Lena took a deep breath. It feels like home. Jackson's eyes scanned the room. This isn't human. This is ancient tech, not from any species I know. Mira stepped closer to one of the panels. As she touched it, the symbols shifted into something she could understand, not words, but feelings, ideas. She turned to Jackson. This was a refuge, she said. Long ago, built by our kind, a place to hide, or to return to. Jackson's eyes widened. You're telling me this isn't just a hiding place? It's part of your origin? Yes, she whispered. And we're not the only ones. Left. Others were sent away, scattered. She touched another panel. A star map appeared, slowly spinning in midair. It showed systems far beyond Verdun. Tiny glowing dots blinked across the stars. They were marked, Mira said. Like beacons. Jackson stared at the map. These are safe zones? I think so. But before they could say more, something else lit up, a warning symbol. Mira stepped back. What's that? Jackson asked. She swallowed hard. Someone else has found one of the beacons. But it's not one of us. Lena grabbed Mira's hand. They're coming again? Mira nodded. Not just one hunter this time, someone bigger. Someone who wants to erase everything we were. Jackson stepped forward. Then we have to move. We take the map. We follow the trail. If others are out there, we find them before the enemy does. Mira placed her hand on the panel one last time. A small orb detached from the machine and floated to her. It glowed softly, then shrank into a tiny star-shaped crystal. A key, she said, to something we haven't seen yet. Jackson looked at the girls. You're not just survivors anymore. You're the last light of your kind. And as they left the glowing chamber, the wall closed behind them, sealing its secrets once again. But in the far distance, back at the city's edge, Voron stood watching from a cliff. He held a different map now. One with the same glowing beacons. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. But the red light across his mask pulsed faster now. He had found the trail too. And this time, he wouldn't come alone. The wind howled over the ruined rooftops of Verdun as night fell again. Jackson stood near an old signal tower. Its metal frame rusted and shaking. Behind him, Mira and Lena waited under cover, hiding inside the broken control room. They were tired, hungry, but most of all out of time. They had the map now. The key, the truth about Myra's kind. But they needed a ship, and Jackson knew only one person who still owed him a favor. His name was Reckon, ex-smuggler and old friend. If that word still meant anything in a place like this. Jackson pressed the come link button on the tower and spoke into the cracked mic. Rec, it's me, I need a pickup. Static. Then a slow voice replied, cold and familiar. Took you long enough, Jax. You still alive? Barely. And the package? Jackson looked back at the girls. Still breathing, he said. But not for long if we don't leave soon. Rec gave a dry laugh. Same old Jackson, always carrying ghosts. I'm sending you the location. Jackson said, one jump-ready ship, no questions. Just this one favor. Static again. Then, fine, meet me in the scrapyard. 1 hour, come alone. The signal cut. Jackson turned to Mira. We have a chance. But we need to move. Mira narrowed her eyes. You trust him? I don't trust anyone, Jackson said. But he wants money, not blood. That makes him predictable. They moved quickly across the rooftops, jumping from one broken building to the next, hiding from patrol drones that still scanned the city skies. Mira held Lena close, her eyes watching everything. But she felt something. Off. A pressure in the air. Not fear dash. Warning. By the time they reached the scrapyard, the moons had disappeared behind dark clouds. Metal parts and ruined ships filled the giant lot like broken bones. The air smelled of oil and dust. Rek was already waiting beside an old freighter, leaning against its ramp with a smug grin. He looked just like Jackson remembered, tall, thin, with half his face covered in steel from an old war injury. 3 fugitives and 1 beat-up pilot, he said. You sure know how to make trouble. Jackson walked ahead, hand near his sidearm. You brought the ship? Rek nodded. Fully fueled, ready for a cold start, but first. He pointed to Myra. What's so special about her? Jackson stepped in front. Doesn't matter, we pay you fly. That was the deal. Rek laughed. Relax, I'm not asking for her. Just curious. Behind them, Lena tugged Mira's sleeve. Something's wrong. Mira's ears twitched. She looked past the ship into the shadows. That's when she saw them. Figures. Moving. Too many. It's a trap. She whispered. Jackson drew his blaster instantly. But it was too late. The scrapyard lights snapped on. Red beams lit up the sky as mercenaries stepped out from behind broken ships. 10 of them, armed, waiting. Rek raised his hands in mock apology. Sorry, Jocks. Word got out. Do you know how much they're offering for those girls? Jackson's face hardened. You sold us out. I didn't sell you, Rek said. Just them. You? You're free to go. He held up a credit chip. Your cut. Generous, right? Jackson looked at the chip, then at the girls, then at Rek. Without a word, he shot the chip out of Rek's hand. Then I guess I'm not for sale, Jackson said. The next few seconds were chaos. Blasters fired. Smoke grenades exploded. Jackson pushed Mira and Lena behind a junk pile and returned fire. Mira closed her eyes and focused. The glow returned to her hands. Brighter this time. Stronger. She touched the ground. The metal beneath them hummed. 3 mercenaries fell without being touched, their weapons short-circuited, their armor sparking. Lena shielded her face, terrified, but Myra's voice was calm. We are not prey anymore. Jackson fought hard, but they were outnumbered. A blast hit him in the shoulder. He fell, groaning in pain. Rek stepped forward, aiming a stun gun at Mira. I said alive. Not damaged, he growled. But before he could fire, Mira's eyes locked onto his dot, and for the first time, Rek hesitated. His hands shook. His breath caught. Something deep inside him froze. I see you, Mira whispered. All the fear, all the greed. You think you own the stars. The glow from her hands exploded in a wave of blinding light. The entire scrapyard went silent. When the flash faded, Rek was gone along with the rest of the mercs. Not dead, just unconscious. All of them. Jax. Omen sat up slowly, holding his bleeding arm. You did that. Mira didn't speak. Her glow faded. Her face was pale. But her voice was strong. I didn't know I could. Jackson smiled despite the pain. I guess now we know. They looked around. The mercs were down. Rek was no threat. And the ship, the old freighter, was still waiting. Jackson stood, helped by Mira, and looked at the sky. No more hiding, he said. No more favors. We're getting off this planet. But somewhere above them, far beyond the clouds, Voron was watching. And this time he wasn't alone. The stars looked calm that night. From the outside, the stolen freighter was just another junk ship leaving Verdun's orbit. Its lights were dim. Its engines made no sound. But inside, the ship held something more valuable than any smuggled treasure. Hope. Jackson sat in the pilot's chair, blood still drying on his shoulder. He stared at the stars, hands steady on the controls. Behind him, Mira helped Lena strap into a seat. Both looked tired, bruised, but more alive than ever before. The ship shook as it passed through the upper atmosphere. Metal groaned. Alarms blinked. But the freighter held together. "We're almost free," Jackson whispered, but Mira didn't smile. She could feel it. They weren't alone. Suddenly the radar screen lit up. A red signal. Then 2. Then 5. "No," Jackson muttered. They had. And found, appearing out of the dark like black knives, a fleet of small ships formed a circle around them, silent, perfect, deadly, and leading them was Vor Ran. He floated ahead in a sleek hunter vessel, sharp as a blade, red lights glowing like a warning heart. Jackson opened comms. Static filled the speakers. Then, a deep, unnatural voice cut through. "Return the experiments. No harm will come to you." Jackson slammed the panel. "They're not experiments." Silence. Then Voran spoke again. "You cannot outrun truth." Mira stepped forward. "No, but we can change it." The lights in the freighter dimmed. Power began to flicker. "They're jamming us," Jackson said. "Shield's too weak. We won't survive a fight." "We don't need to fight," Mira said softly. Jackson turned. "What do you mean?" She held the small star-shaped crystal in her hand, the key from the ancient chamber. "It's not just a map," she said. "It's a beacon." "What kind of beacon?" "One that only my kind can hear." She walked to the center of the ship, where a strange circular platform sat, once a cargo lift, now glowing faintly from Myra's touch. Lena's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" "I'm calling them," Mira whispered. A pulse of light exploded from the crystal. Not visible, not loud, but it rippled through space like a silent scream. Jackson watched the radar. Nothing changed. But then, the hunter ships began to shake. Varan's vessel twitched in the sky. One by one, the enemy fleet started to back off, just a few feet. Just enough to notice. Then, from beyond the stars, they came. Not warships, not weapons, beings of light. Ships, shaped like living stars. They didn't attack. They didn't speak. But they surrounded the freighter, forming a ring of shimmering protection. Jackson's screen blinked green. Unknown signal. "You are not alone." Mira collapsed to her knees, tears falling silently. "They heard me." Lena held her sister, eyes wide with wonder. But Voran didn't stop. His ship charged its main cannon, aimed straight at the freighter. Jakovs yelled, "He's going to fire." And in that moment, everything slowed down. Jackson could escape. The new ships could protect Mira and Lena. But not all of them. Not him. He looked at Mira, then at the console, and he made a decision. He ran to the manual override panel, pulled the safety lever, and locked the ship's flight path. "What are you doing?" Mira shouted. "You have to go," Jackson said. "But he's still aiming at you. If I draw his fire." "No. You don't have to." "Yes," Jackson said quietly. "I do." He slammed the emergency pod release, launching Mira and Lena into one of the light ships outside. "Jackson!" Lena screamed, but the ship was already closing behind them. Inside, Jackson turned the freighter toward Varan's ship. Full speed. "Shields off. One last smile. One last flight," he whispered. "Not prey, not property, not anymore." And hit the thrusters. The freighter lit up like a comet, flying straight into the hunter's path. Voran tried to turn, but too late. The ships collided in a blinding burst of light. Silence. Then stars, floating among them, safe and held in soft light. Mira and Lena drifted inside the glowing rescue craft. Tears fell down Mira's cheeks, but not just from pain. From freedom. For the first time, they were truly free. Years later, on a distant world covered in silver forests and glowing lakes, children with golden eyes ran through the fields. Among them, 2 girls sat by the river, watching the sky. A small star-shaped crystal glowed faintly. In Mira's hand. "He saved us." Lena said softly. Myra nodded. And gave us a new future, somewhere out there among the stars. A new legend had begun.